let's jump into this first story we have from Mediaite. Washington Post obtains new leaks from Supreme Court revealing conservative justices are holding the line. Not just that, Chief Justice John Roberts appears to have lost control, and Clarence Thomas may now actually be in more control. We don't know exactly. There's only a couple leaks. The first leak was the initial draft. But check this out. Mediaite says, oddly, the article itself appears to include another leak, which is clearly reported to have come from conservatives close to the court, who of course spoke on the condition of anonymity. The sources are said to have told reporters about private conversations between Roberts and his fellow jurists as far back as early December. They say, the leaked draft opinion is dated in February and is almost surely obsolete now, as justices have had time to offer dissents and revisions. But as of last week, the majority of 5 justices to strike Roe remains intact, according to 3 conservatives close to the court who, like others, spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss a sensitive matter. So we don't know who these people are. Clearly someone who knows what's going on in the court, presumably a clerk. They say a person close to the most conservative members of the court said Roberts told his fellow jurists in private conference in early December he planned to uphold the state law and write an opinion that left Roe and Casey in place for now. But the other conservatives were more interested in an opinion that overturned the precedents, the person said. A spokesman for the court declined to comment, and messages extended to justices were unreturned. Also, according to the Washington Post, they said it seems that Clarence Thomas was the one who instructed Alito to draft the majority opinion. And Alito has always been in favor of restrictions on abortion and opposing Roe v. Wade. So it looks like Roberts was trying to get the conservatives to side with upholding Roe v. Wade, and they basically said nope.
Nope, absolutely not. So, thank goodness.
Well, so is this bad? Let me show you the big point of the story. The Hill, regurgitating an NPR story, says the leading theory on the SCOTUS leak is a conservative clerk. And the argument is, with Justice John Roberts trying to get these other conservative justices to uphold Roe v. Wade, a conservative clerk released the draft opinion to force them to stick to it, because if they change their opinion now, it'll look like they were swayed by public opinion. What do you guys think?
I mean, if NPR said it, I'm going to say probably not true.
I think that if you're leaking Supreme Court documents, that's probably a federal offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, regardless, this is a serious breach of ethics. I don't care who did it or why. We need to find them and we need to punish them.
Yeah. What do you think, Daryl?
It seems like part of a larger trend toward just undermining all of our institutions, right? And all of the customs and ways of doing things that have kind of been the glue and sinews that have held things together over all this time, right? The United States is a country. We got all types of people here, from every continent on the planet, every religion, every race, everything. People who believe that all different types of ways of life are, the most appropriate way to live. And you hold that together by a thread. And that thread is those traditions and customs and those institutions that we use to moderate our conversations with one another. And if we lose those things, we're going to lose everything.
I saw this leftist meme post where they said Republicans are trying to burn the country down and destroy all of its institutions. And I thought to myself, that is absolutely accurate, 100%. The institutions that have been taken over by the left, the conservatives are absolutely intent on taking down, like public education, the Department of Education, colleges. So if you think about it in terms of what we value as constitutionalists, when I hear that, the constitutionalist part of me says that's ridiculous. The left has been gutting and destroying everything. They're the ones stripping the Bill of Rights and blah blah blah. But I don't want to just be overtly biased. I was like, well, what institutions are they talking about? I'm like, oh yeah, the universities. Yeah, definitely. Cultural institutions. Oh, you bet. They've been completely taken over. So I think conservatives would love to see the universities falter. Well, but when we're talking about courts, when we're talking about the rule of law, that's absolutely not true. It's the left that's doing that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and there's 2 different layers to institutions, right? There's Harvard University, and then there's education in the United States. Or there's the Washington Post, but then there's journalism, which is an institution. Right. And they certainly want to burn the Washington Post and Harvard down. But I think that in their minds, at least, conservatives want to do that so that they can get back.
Well, it's a really interesting point. The left, I think, looks at the brick and mortar structure as the institution, and the right views the concept as the institution. A just court is an institution. To the left, the Supreme Court is the institution, the court itself, the building itself.
Well, I think the left knows that they're going to be able to intimidate people into doing their bidding by going after the actual physical location. So you look at the fact that they are genuinely trying to intimidate Supreme Court justices. And I think that when you look at the behavior of the right, there is no comparison between the right and the left in terms of how much rioting has occurred. I mean, the left, it's their go-to. As soon as this information got leaked, we knew they were going to be threatening violence immediately.
I feel like the locations are points of vulnerability within the institutions, and like we put so much faith and trust in these people at these institutions, like the president of Harvard or the Supreme Court justices, that if they get tweaked or bribed or something, or if they leak something, the entire system falters. In social media administration, we have a thing called Trustless Systems, where you don't have to trust that someone has your back or that someone's going to make the right choice. The system is in plain view. Everyone knows what's happening. It's automatic. And I think maybe that our government needs trustless systems as well.
I think, just going back to my point, how the institutional, the establishment left and many on the left view the existing structure as an institution, like the Washington Post is the institution of journalism, whereas the right wants to restore the actual institution of journalism. And I think those are different worldviews where if you can understand how many on the left or liberals or Democrats think, you'll better understand what their arguments are. That was kind of my point when they said the right's trying to destroy our institutions. It's like, well, think, what must they mean? Harvard University, not education. They like their archaic structures. But I think, for us who believe in freedom and liberty, we like the idea of education. And education can come from anywhere. For me, it came from going online and reading free information from various, professors or news outlets, and not formal education.
Yeah, I don't think they're trying to destroy the education system, but maybe the public schooling system that Dewey set up in like the early 1900s, where they're creating these like factory workers and war, basically soldiers, are getting people ready to raise their hand and only speak when they're spoken to. I think a lot of people are done with that. They want school choice. They want to learn online. Phoenix University was really groundbreaking in the early 2000s, I think it was. You get your degree online.
There's a basic difference between the way conservatives and progressives approach politics in general, down to the level of what they think the purpose and point of politics is, right? To a progressive, it's built into their name. And this is true of liberals as well, just that the purpose of politics is to get us somewhere. That there are certain things that either need to be fixed or improved or achieved, whatever it is. And the purpose of politics is our means of coming together to achieve or fix or these things. And conservatives don't see it that way. Conservatives have a much more tragic view of history. They look around and say, we're not going to some final destination in America. The goal of politics, politics is much more like relations between family members to conservatives. That the point of this is to make sure that we're all still friends tomorrow. That's the only point to politics, is to make sure that we are all still friends tomorrow and that we can come together to deal with things as they arise. And you're going to get very different approaches to institutions when that's the case, right? Progressives can look at it and say the point here is to get to that place where this social justice aim is achieved or whatever it is. And if an institution seems to be slowing that down, scorched earth. That institution is in the way. Whereas a conservative says, no, that maintaining that institution's credibility so that we're not all killing each other tomorrow instead of working through our institutions. That's the point.
I was thinking about that too. I was like, there's got to be rules that we all agree to play by, but that doesn't apply to the progressive worldview. The progressive worldview has been, and I'll just throw it to the late David Graeber, where I started to think about these ideas when he said that elements of the left have embraced the fascistic tenet, there is no truth but power. And you take a look at what many on the right would call a double standard, and James Lindsay, I think it's James Lindsay, he said, there is no double standard. If it's good for the revolution, it's good. If it's bad for the revolution, it's bad. That's how you end up seeing contradictory concepts like you must be vaccinated regardless of your own body, and abortion, my body, my choice. They then act like conservatives are the hypocrites, when in reality, they just don't know what conservatives are arguing. Whereas conservatives are outright saying, it's not your body, it's the other body. Address from the argument from that point if you want to have a conversation, but they're not. So, ultimately, I think, for me, I wonder, what are the rules to the system we're in so that I can make sure we don't come at each other and go nuts, right? And it doesn't seem like it matters because the rules for, as you pointed out, for the progressives is to accomplish their social justice goals where everyone else is kind of, for the most part, conservatives. But I think, whatever the two factions really end up being, libertarian or otherwise, is how do we live together and survive this catastrophe, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely think there's truth in what you're saying. The left has a much more Hegelian approach to their view of history. They see it as this process and the structure that is building towards its ultimate end. And even that, I think, like from a metaphysical Christian worldview, there's truth in. But I think conservatives, as you have said, do have this more tragic view of history. It's more or less we are teetering on the brink. It's not as if we are just guaranteed that tomorrow is going to be better than today. This could all fall off if we try to change the system in the wrong way.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.